Now I'm live and I can see all the problems with my makeup. That's fine. God, it looks terrible. That's what you get for making an effort. God, I haven't even slept. My hair really looks like I have. Don't be so critical of yourself. Give yourself some credit. Well, I'm trying. Oh, hey. Hi, I'm live again. And I did my eyes, but they look better in real life, I think. Just figure I'm looking down most of the time. Might as well give you guys something, pretty to look at. Hello again. Yeah. Uh-oh, I fucked it. Oops. Never mind. Wait, this isn't my phone. This is a mirror. I got it. I've got my phone. Thank you. The edges are not blended well. Actually, nothing's blended well, but to be honest, I've got lipstick at the outer corners, so it's not even an eye product. But that's not the point. The point is, here we are again, and somehow my light is getting dimmer every time. Oh wait, that's not a somehow, that's really obvious. So anyway, welcome back, you guys. So our last chapter was just a little bit about the life of Joseph Curwen up to 1761, I want to say. He moved to Providence from Salem in 1692, looking about 35. Still dead. By 1761, he was still looking basically the same. And eventually, people started, itinerant people going missing in Providence and just that kind of thing. And eventually, people started to kind of shun him because, he was obviously up to something. He just wasn't aging. It was weird. Everyone was super jealous. I hate that, right? When people just, shun you in your cursed witch house for, clout and likes. Which doesn't even mean anything. It's crazy to me, but anyway, that's basically where we left off. Sorry. Can I get any better light? Let's see if the little wee plug-in light helps. Problem, of course, being it plugs in, but then it doesn't go very far. So oh, that's quite scary. You can enjoy more colors this way. If I plug it in upside down, it's not too bad. Slightly better than it not being on. Doesn't matter. You're here for the story, I think. I assume. And we've got just the three of us again. So I can probably get started pretty soon. How was everybody's afternoon? My afternoon is about to get a lot better because I'm going to go to bed early tonight. It's going to be awesome. As an adult, it's like the coolest thing you can do is go to bed early. Oh, sorry. I've got the computer propped up on a thing. Also, my tongue is red. I've been chewing vampire blood gum, which I've realized is not sugar-free and paints your tongue red. I don't think that was a vampire thing particularly. Bah. So that's a fun surprise. I forgot I'd chewed it and I thought I was dying. Been restoring a wee wooden box. Sounds nice. Yeah, going to bed does rock. So good. So we are all here. And I'm learning again for I don't know how many, like, I don't know if this is the 20th time in my life. I think it's a lot more than that, but I'm learning again why we don't put lipstick on our face. But the colours look good. Peacock colours, they're pretty. Okay. When the Whitefield adherents broke off from Dr. Cotton's Hill Church in 1743 and founded Deacon Snow's church across the bridge, Curwen had gone with them, though his zeal and attendance soon abated. Now, however, he cultivated piety once more, as if to dispel the shadow which had thrown him into isolation, and would soon begin to wreck his business fortunes, if not sharply checked. That was where we left off. Yes! You're here and you're dear to me. Get used to it. I think I should shut the curtain. Oh, that looks good. That looks very classy. It's not gonna work. Hey, Josh. My house looks like a 5-minute crafter house. By which I mean it looks completely mad. Not making a lot of difference. Let's try this again. Whoa, creepy. What do you reckon? Light or no light? With the light, you can see more colors, but with no light, you don't have to see how badly the colors are blended. It's quite a conundrum. Come here, sweetie. It was just the hair straightener falling down. Come on. You gonna say hi? She's not gonna say hi. All right, part 2. And we're still talking about Joseph Curwen. The sight of this strange, pallid man, hardly middle-aged in aspect, yet certainly not less than a full century old, seeking at last to emerge from a cloud of fright and detestation too vague to pin down or analyze, was at once a pathetic, a dramatic, and a contemptible thing. Such is the power of wealth and of surface gestures, however, that there came indeed a slight abatement in the visible aversion displayed toward him, especially after the rapid disappearances of his sailors abruptly ceased. He must likewise have begun to practice an extreme care and secrecy in his graveyard expeditions, for he was never again caught at such wanderings, whilst the rumours of uncanny sounds and manoeuvres at his Pawtuxet farm diminished in proportion. You can't go taking all the semen in town. People are going to talk. It's a life lesson. His rate of food consumption and cattle replacement remained abnormally high, but not until modern times, when Charles Ward examined a set of his accounts and invoices in the Shepley Library, did it occur to any person, save one embittered youth perhaps, to make dark comparisons between the large number of people from Guinea, enslaved people from Guinea he imported until 1766, and the disturbingly small number for whom he could produce bona fide bills of sale, either to slave dealers at the Great Bridge or to the planters of the Narragansett country. Certainly the cunning and ingenuity of this abhorred character were uncannily profound, once the necessity for their exercise had become impressed upon him. He's a great guy. But of course the effect of all of this belated mending was necessarily slight. Curwen continued to be avoided and distrusted, as indeed the one fact of his continued air of youth at a great age would have been enough to warrant, and he could see that in the end his fortunes would be likely to suffer. His elaborate studies and experiments, whatever they may have been, apparently required a heavy income for their maintenance, and since a change of environment would deprive him of the trading advantages he had gained, it would not have profited him to begin anew in a different region just then. Judgment demanded that he patch up his relations with the townsfolk of Providence, so that his presence might no longer be a signal for hushed conversation, transparent excuses of errands elsewhere, and a general atmosphere of constraint and uneasiness. His clerks, being now reduced to the shiftless and impecunious residue whom no one else would employ, were giving him much worry, and he held to his sea captains and mates only by shrewdness in gaining some kind of ascendancy over them. A mortgage, a promissory note, or a bit of information very pertinent to their welfare. In many cases, diarists have recorded with some awe Curwen showed almost the power of a wizard in unearthing family secrets for questionable use. During the final 5 years of his life, it seemed as though only direct talks with the long dead could possibly have furnished some of the data which he had so glibly at his tongue's end. This guy's a keeper, you know. Just hold on. You never let him go. About this time, the crafty scholar hit upon a last desperate expedient to regain his footing in the community. What are you doing? Hitherto a complete hermit, he now determined to contract an advantageous marriage. Securing as a bride some lady whose unquestioned position would make all ostracism of his home impossible. It may be that he also had deeper reasons for wishing an alliance, reasons so far outside the known cosmic sphere that only papers found a century and a half after his death caused anyone to suspect them. But of this nothing certain can ever be learned. Naturally, he was aware of the horror and indignation with which... Oh God, I've just realized that a century and a half after, 1770, was when Lovecraft was writing, the 1920s. Wow. That's crazy. That's really crazy to me. Time, man. Naturally, he was aware of the horror and indignation with which any ordinary courtship of his would be received. Hence, he looked about for some likely candidate upon whose parents he might exert a suitable pressure. Such candidates, he found, were not at all easy to discover, since he had very particular requirements in the way of beauty, accomplishments, and social security. Wow, he really is an incel. At length his survey narrowed down to the household of one of his best and oldest ship captains, a widower of high birth and unblemished standing named Duty Tillinghast, whose only daughter Eliza seemed dowered with every conceivable advantage, save prospects as an heiress. Captain Tillinghast was completely under the domination of Curwen, and consented, after a terrible interview in his coupleted house on Powers Lane Hill, to sanction the blasphemous alliance. Oh, this is romantic. It's just like Twilight. in that Joseph Curwen is over a century old, and Eliza Tillinghast was at that time 18 years of age. Gross. Fucked, actually. Fucked vibes at this wedding. And had been reared as gently as the reduced circumstances of her father permitted. And they don't mean gently like in a gentle fashion, they mean like as a gentle woman, you know. We're all in love with the local Highlanders. Whom among us might be a Highlander and not even know it? Probably me. I think I might be a Highlander. She had attended Stephen Jackson's school opposite the courthouse parade and had been diligently instructed by her mother, before the latter's death of smallpox in 1757, in all the arts and refinements of domestic life. A sampler of hers, worked in 1753 at the age of 9, may still be found in the rooms of the Rhode Island Historical Society. After her mother's death, she had kept the house, aided only by one old woman. Her arguments with her father concerning the proposed Curwen marriage must have been painful indeed, but of these we have no record. Certain it is that her engagement to young Ezra Whedon, second mate of the Crawford Packet Enterprise, was dutifully broken off, and that her union with Joseph Curwen took place on the 7th of March, 1763, in the Baptist Church, in the presence of one of the most distinguished assemblages which the town could boast, the ceremony being performed by the younger Samuel Windsor. Good question. Would Lovecraft be an anti-vaxxer? I don't know. Let's open this up in chat. Give your opinions. We will see. I think he would be scared of putting a disease in his body. He probably did get inoculated for smallpox, wouldn't he? Would he? I don't know. I don't know that much about the history of vaccination. I think he'd be afraid of putting a virus in his body, but I think he'd be more afraid of getting sick. So, don't know. The Gazette mentioned the event very briefly. Good question. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. The Gazette mentioned the event very briefly, and in most surviving copies, the item in question appears to have been cut or torn out. Ward found a single intact copy after much search in the archives of a private collector of note, observing with amusement the meaningless urbanity of the language. Monday evening last, Mr. Joseph Curwen of this town, merchant, was married to Miss Eliza Tillinghast, daughter of Captain Duty Tillinghast, a good lady who has real merit, added to a beautiful person, to grace the connubial state and perpetuate its felicity. Oh yeah, let's definitely do a seance and call up H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, science only leads to more eldritch abominations than it controls, I think is what we've learned. Have we learned anything? Hi, Jesse. Nice to see you again. We're still talking about Joseph Curwen. At the moment, he's just married an 18-year-old girl. He's 100 years old. Yeah. The collection of Durfee Arnold letters, discovered by Charles Ward shortly before his first reputed madness in the private collection of Melville F. Peters, Esquire, of George Street, and covering this and a somewhat antecedent period, throws vivid light on the outrage done to public sentiment by this ill-assorted match. The social influence of the Tillinghast, however, was not to be denied. Come on, sweetie. Oh, she wants to go outside. Don't drop the hair straighteners on the cat, for fuck's sake. Here you go, sweetheart. Yeah. I think Lovecraft would find the whole concept of pregnancy very, very frightening. So I think he'd be in favour of abortion, but probably not of injecting it into your body. I don't know. Josh is right. We're going to have a seance. It's the only way. So think of your other questions. The social influence of the Tillinghast, however, was not to be denied, and once more Joseph Curwen found his house frequented by persons whom he could never otherwise have induced to cross his threshold. His acceptance was by no means complete, and his bride was socially the sufferer through her forced venture, but at all events the wall of utter ostracism was somewhat worn down. In his treatment of his wife, the strange bridegroom astonished both her and the community by displaying an extreme graciousness and consideration. The new house in Olney Court was now wholly free from disturbing manifestations, and although Curwen was much absent at the Pawtuxet farm, which his wife never visited, he seemed more like a normal citizen than at any other time in his long years of residence. Only one person remained in open enmity with him, this being the youthful ship's officer, whose engagement to Eliza Tillinghast had been so abruptly broken. Ezra Whedon had frankly vowed vengeance, and though of a quiet and ordinarily mild disposition, was now gaining a hate-bred, dogged purpose, which boded no good to the usurping husband. Howard, what do you think of cancel culture? Howard, what do you think about the flossing dance? Howard, do you know what TikTok is? Howard, look at Snapchat. That's you. That's your face on a broccoli. That'd be so good. On the 7th of May, 1765, Curwen's only child, Anne, was born and was christened by the Reverend John Graves of King's Church, of which both husband and wife had become communicants shortly after their marriage, in order to compromise between their respective congregational and Baptist affiliations. The record of this birth, as well as that of the marriage 2 years before, was stricken from most copies of the church and town annals where it ought to appear, and Charles Ward located both with the greatest difficulty, after his discovery of the widow's change of name had apprised him of his own relationship, and engendered the feverish interest which culminated in his madness. The birth entry, indeed, was found very curiously through correspondence with the heirs of the loyalist Dr. Graves, who had taken with him a duplicate set of records when he left his pastorate at the outbreak of the Revolution. Oh, dang, that's the American Revolution. Oh my god, that's crazy. Time is crazy. Ward had tried this source because he knew that his great-great-grandmother, Anne Tillinghast Potter, had been an Episcopalian. Told you this was a Harry Potter crossover. Oh, no! Yeah, yep. Lovecraftian hell. It's like a woke tech bro apartment, except genuinely woke, not, fake woke. Yeah. Terrifying Asiatic rituals. Talking about Chinese New Year? It's not terrifying. Okay, the fireworks are startling if you're not prepared for them. Shortly after the birth of his daughter, Cleopatra did live at the same time as woolly mammoths, and the Wright brothers flew her around in their aeroplane for 3 days, and that's why she got so dizzy she fell on that snake. It's true. Look it up. Shortly after the birth of his daughter, an event he seemed to welcome with a fervour greatly out of keeping with his usual coldness, Curwen resolved to sit for a portrait. This he had painted by a very gifted Scotsman named Cosmo Alexander. That's such a good name. Cosmo Alexander. Then a resident of Newport, and since famous as the early teacher of Gilbert Stuart. The likeness was said to have been executed on a wall panel of the library of the house in Olney Court, but neither of the two old diaries mentioning it gave any hint of its ultimate disposition. At this period, the erratic scholar showed signs of unusual abstraction, and spent as much time as he possibly could at his farm on the Pawtuxet Road. He seemed, it was stated, in a condition of suppressed excitement or suspense, as if expecting some phenomenal thing or on the brink of some strange discovery. Chemistry or alchemy would appear to have played a great part, for he took from his house to the farm the greater number of his volumes on that subject. His affectation of